Our ancestors came to these hills years and years ago.
I guess I'm about the 5th generation.
We were the first frontier.
The smells of the summertime.
High mountains and pretty creeks and streams.
A community that was centered around the church.
The ones that stayed here were happy to sit under the shade tree and play the fiddle and raise a little corn.
It's home, and home to my ancestors.
East Tennessee geographically starts at the Cumberland Mountains and ends in the Smoky Mountains with a very nice valley in the middle.
The Cumberland Gap was the only access to the road west.
Even to get to Kentucky, they had to go through here.
And so the little creek valleys and springs that came out of these areas were snug little places where people were able to make a pretty good living farming and being good neighbors to each other.
My mother's people came over before the Revolution. They were actually among the Watauga settlers. They came in defiance of the British order.
East Tennessee was founded by people looking for new homes, freedom, security, land, ability to practice religion.
The Longmires and the Irwins and the Hills and the Owsleys, Stooksburys, they stayed there pretty much intact until mid-1930s.
You can't come to East Tennessee and not get a touch of the Indians that were settled here too.
Oftentimes I will find broken chips of flint and can imagine someone napping flint in that very same spot.
The Cherokee were the first who had to leave their homes to make way for what the federal government thought was progress.
Everything in my family you can trace back to the Civil War.
For families in East Tennessee, it was a difficult time with a lot of division.
Most of Tennessee was Confederate, but this area was Union.
And his cousins didn't like that were fighting for the South. There was almost a shooting over that issue at the time.
About everybody who's a native East Tennessean came from a divided family somewhere along the way.
Their loyalty to the Union was greater than, in some cases, the loyalties to their family.
And all of them had 11 or 12 brothers and sisters. So by the second generation, and certainly by the third, the land was gone.
The region attracted businessmen who started factories. It was easy to ship things out by rail.
In the last 100 years, my family had to look for other ways to make a living.
Some of them were what they call wood butchers, people who dealt in lumber.
My granddaddy, my mother's daddy, was a miner. My daddy was a miner. That was the jobs in the mountains. Well, you could just see the danger. You could hear the people yell fire in the hole, and if you were in the yard, you knew to get in the porch because the rocks could be flying over in the yard.
12 hours a day in the mines.
The floods that would happen in the mine towns.
And they were just completely covered in dust. And you knew that that wasn't healthy.
We have been invaded by the lumbermen, we've been invaded by the coal people, we've been invaded by the dam people. They brought difficulty, and they brought relief.
My great-great-grandfather had 12 children, and all of them were displaced with their children and grandchildren. So we're talking lots and lots of people here.
She said, I have 3 little children buried up there on the hill under the cedar trees. You say this will help a lot of people. If that is true, then I'm ready to go.
Now, my dad, he loved that old way of life. My mother, she rejoiced in the electricity.
It's pristine, but it's there's no people. It's land and it's mountains and it's sky, but there's no people.
It took quite a few years for the next generation to see the so-called good.
A little bit of Appalachian Dream.
You know, we try to preserve, but there has to be progress.
Once they develop it, they don't tear down factories to go back to farming.
Make the most of what's here, because there's plenty here to make the most of.
My great-grandma and her sisters used to play the fiddle and the banjo on the porch.
There's a veneer that's unrefined, but underneath there's a lot of wisdom.
Hillbilly marathons, hillbilly rib cook-offs, and there's nothing wrong with it.
So many people had farmed that land before me, generation after generation.
You learn the value of hard work. You learn respect for the land.
We have federally conserved this particular farm right here. I hope our children will continue to farm, but if they don't, then someone will have to buy it as a farm.
I spent my teenage years looking for myself, but I didn't truly find myself till I knew where I came from, and that's East Tennessee.
It means beautiful valleys, wonderful people, old traditions.
A sense of community where everyone was there for each other.
You know, a perfect day to me is when the cows come in give a lot of milk.
Hiking on those mountain trails with no people around and scenic vistas.
We seem to stay here. We want to stay here. We love it.
It's so home. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Let it rain,